Did you miss me, Bayern Munich fans? Did you miss me? Bayern Munich initially build up in a sort of 2-4-4 with Upamecano and Kim very split. Very, very split. Often playing on the two sides of their own box, playing those quick passes over to each other that can make yourselves very easily exposed with a team coming up to press, which admittedly not a lot of teams have done against Bayern Munich. A lot of teams have sat off and defended a lot deeper. So if I just do that now, actually, to represent that, because the majority of Bayern Munich's games are played within the opposition's half. So in these situations, having Kim and Upamecano, it's been rather suicidal at points. Having them play this type of football with so much space between them has been killer. And now there's a couple ways they try and counteract this. Like this, which they need to, because the issue is, let's say if Upamecano gets a bit of a poor pass from whoever, this gives the invitation for the striker to come and press him. And if that striker wins the ball, Upamecano's obviously beat, the fullbacks are pushed on, Kim can't do anything. Kim is so far away from anything, he can't get up close. But the way Bayern Munich look to try and counteract this is, one, they'll have Manuel Neuer, and he will push up high to get involved in build-up. Again, he has the freedom to, because a lot of teams against him sit deep, but he will push up almost to the halfway line to get involved in build-up and add that middle lane to be able to transfer the ball from side to side in that centre-back pairing. Or it will be Upamecano coming in slightly more narrow and Joshua Kimmich coming into this right centre-back position, allowing it to operate more as a back three. And Joshua Kimmich obviously having fantastic technical ability to be able to progress the ball, is comfortable in possession more so than Upamecano and Kim are. And it then moves the fullbacks forward, which is a massive part of how this Bayern Munich play in the attacking third, which is almost a 3-1-6, as you can see in this situation, with Kimmich as the right centre back, Upamecano as the centre back, Kim as the left centre back, Pavlovic playing the link between the two. Pavlovic starting over Palhinha, who was signed for big money in the summer, which we'll get onto that more on the off the ball shape. And to be fair, Bayern Munich have overwhelmed teams by using a combination of a few things. One, you'll get Guerrero overlapping from this area here, and Michael Elise more so on this right hand side than the players do on the left hand side, has the freedom to come inside and get deep and try and progress the ball forward. And I actually feel like with Elise, with the fullbacks, with Kane and Musiala, there is a real amount of vertical fluidity within it in terms of the way these players will drop in from their advanced positions to get on the ball in the other all-attack space. You'll get Elise maybe coming into this position to receive the ball. Alphonso Davies will do it on this side. So it creates a bit of a hexagon in that middle area of the pitch with two players maintaining width that they can play through an opposition shape. Again, if let's say that again an opposition will then have to come in very narrow to try and stop this, and it becomes a bit harder to mark. Musiala as well coming deep, maybe allowing Elise to stick further in this area. Alphonso Davies maybe moving up to allow Kane to drop in. So, it's a bit of a whack-a-mole situation. Just you don't know who's popping up where. But Musiala and Kane can drop in. And as well, sometimes you see these players dropping in into the left-back position to allow Kim to push up, and it becomes more of a sort of 2-3-2-3 type formation. So there's fluidity, there's vertical movements, there's triggers for one player to take up a position, and then how a player reacts to it is clearly from the coach and staff. And I'll give Vincent Kompany his flowers for that. But there's good attacking movement and fluidity. Helped when Musiala has been on the pitch, when, as he's not been in the last couple of games, the attacking quality of Bayern Munich has dropped tremendously. His ability to drop in, get the ball, progress it forward, and then his ability to collect the ball in between the lines, use his tight dribbling ability to ride the challenges of an opposition's narrow and compact shape, was sorely missed, especially in the Frankfurt game when it was Muller and Kane in the central area, and both of them were just so happy staying within the middle areas of the pitch, weren't getting involved, weren't really contributing to any meaningful attacking play apart from looking for the ball in the box, and it cut off the centre area of that pitch, and all they had to rely on was the full-back wide player combination on either flank. So having Musiala in, especially when Kane's not at his full best, and he seems to have been struggling a little bit with injuries in the last few games, is a massive help. He just offers that quality coming deep and moving the ball forward. Fantastic in both areas of the pitch. And now it's worth talking about each side, because I feel like both sides in Bayern Munich for their attack have their pluses and minuses. On the left-hand side, it's a little bit more one-dimensional, as you get sometimes Harry Kane dropping into this position here. And with Alphonso Davies and Serge Gnabry, you have two players that want to hit teams on transition. They want to hit teams quickly and use their pace to get in behind the back line. But as the games have gone on this season and teams are dropping deeper and deeper against them, this is becoming harder and harder to do because there isn't the space to run into. And so if there's not a quick long ball over the top from Musiala to find it either into the box or maybe in between centre back and full back if that space just opens up, or if maybe the full back comes in a little bit narrow and they can play it to the wide areas, it's hard to progress down that side. But having Gnabry in these positions is pretty useful. That if Kane drops into these areas, if Musiala drops in, if Elise drops in, he can move into that centre forward position because he is a great penetrator. That's what she said. And can occupy a defence with his movement. Is it enough? No, and he's getting very heavily criticised, Gnabry, at the minute from Bayern Munich fans because he doesn't really offer enough in these build-up areas, and he is just a straight box threat. I've never been the biggest fan of Gnabry personally. He's always a player that you hear a lot about, but then when you see him perform, you're sort of wondering what he offers. But he always gives you a good amount of goals. His positioning, his movement's always been top draw, and his ability to finish chances off. The issue is, it feels like him and Davis on that left-hand side need something else to play with. They need someone that will drop deep and occupy space in the middle area of the pitch to draw players in and give them an extra yard or two, and then have that player that's in the half space have the technical quality to find them. And so as a result, they just both end up occupying higher positions in the pitch. Alphonso Davies can get on the ball deep and drive it forward, but again, teams drop off so deep and so early against Bayern Munich that it's just not effective, and he doesn't have the requisite tactical ability to help break that down. And Kane can only get involved so much while still trying to occupy a centre forward threat in the middle of the pitch. So it's finding the balance between the two for him that may not complement that left-hand side. And how do you get it right? It's hard to judge, which is why I'm really surprised we haven't seen more of Musiala in this area. I thought it would have been key. I know he wants Musiala in the centre of the pitch where he can have that freedom, that higher level of freedom. I just feel like having him in this area here would be perfect for Alphonso Davies. And they have linked up well since Musiala's broken into this team with that quality and interchange of play on that left-hand side. So it's something I think we need to see more of. But it hasn't happened so far. On the right-hand side, though, Elise's got the comfort levels to take the ball in all areas, getting on it in a deeper position, in an advanced position between the lines where he's got less space to work with. He is so good and so comfortable, and he's got a great level of tactical quality to dribble through in tight areas and create a good long shot on him to try and bend it from range, as we've seen a couple of times, and play those little slide balls through. The only thing he maybe lacks on that right-hand side is because Guerrero's been starting, who's a left-back, a left-footer playing right-back, is maybe not getting that overlapping run to help with those movements inside. But I think Guerrero's been okay in this position. He's not been amazing, but I think for what he can offer and what his limitations are when you consider all these factors, he's done, I think, what you can expect of him to do, or you can really expect him to do, when he naturally will just slow games down to have to drive it back onto his left foot. But having the double penetrative threat of Elise and Musiala on this side has killed a lot of teams so far this season. It's just maybe a little bit too much on this side. And the overload in this area has forced a defensive line back for the opposition, where maybe you'll get the winger tracking the fullback into these areas. And this creates a massive hole in this area for Joshua Kimmich. And now Joshua Kimmich has had a really good bit of form this season on the ball. Getting the time and space on that right-hand side because of the overload of quality, as I was just saying, gives him the opportunity to play some open play crosses, to use his passing to dictate the tempo of games, which he doesn't do anywhere near enough, by the way. For someone who's as technically good on the ball as he is, he doesn't demonstrate it in 90-minute games anywhere near as consistently enough for me. I think he's a really good player, but he has been able to demonstrate his qualities at points this season, just using his passing to slide it through the lines with that overload, be that first pass that can cause the ripple effect for the team to play off some of their movement in these areas and maybe find the ball into Gnabry or Davis on this left-hand side. And that space has given him the time and space to create. The only problem is, against teams that have sat low and sat compact, they've struggled to break him down. Kimmich getting the ball in this position is great, and his delivery has been really good, but you're expecting inch-perfect movements from the likes of a Gnabry, and Kane isn't going to really break lines and beat players with that quick burst of pace in these areas. Musiala can, but then when you get him caught in between coming deep and being advanced, it's a case that he's not always going to be there. Elise's not that player that breaks lines. He's going to look for the short option from Kimmich. So again, maybe that right-hand side could use a Gnabry to just split lines a bit and look for that underlapping run that Kimmich can maybe slide the ball through, working in tandem with a Guerrero who can pull wide, create that space for the pass to go into, create that space that Gnabry can use. And maybe it is just as simple as just swap Elise and Gnabry around. I don't like Elise as much on that left-hand side, but I feel like there's a balance issue within those two sides. Gnabry might be worth more on the right and Elise on the left. Who knows, though? Who knows? When it's worked and that one-touch play has opened teams up, some of their attacking quality has been really good. And obviously, Kane being the striker he is, when he gets a chance in the box, he doesn't miss it. But it does feel like a lot of it hangs on Jamal Musiala being available for this to really take shape and exploit the teams to the best of the ability. Because it just feels like they have more of a technical bit of quality within the centre of the pitch. His ability to pass from deep into, say, an Elise in this area, to then make the movement to collect it higher and look for those passes in between is just not something that anyone else in this team has. As I say, Elise has it a little bit, but not to the high quality level that Musiala does. The issue then comes for Bayern Munich in this situation is when they lose the ball, you have Upamecano, you have Kim, and you have Pavlovic stranded, spread wide, far apart, and there's space to exploit. And at points, especially in the Frankfurt game, when Marmoush and Ekatike were essentially just man marking Upamecano and Kim, not for pressing purposes, but for when they regain the ball, they could quickly move off of them and break into space either side or through the middle, just to really exploit their lack of 1v1 ability in defending. Upamecano is honestly, do you know what? I'm sick of trying to pretend that he's a really good centre back because he should be. Technically, physically, athletically, he's got every quality in a centre back you could want. Except so many silly mistakes, too eager to press. And this is a Kim issue as well, except it's always not as blatant with Kim as it is with Upamecano. But the way they'll get drawn to markers and aggress high, it just leaves space for runners to go in off of them all the time. And without having the holding midfielder and Polina to put out fires, Pavlovic is too lacking in aggressiveness and too lacking in strength and tenacity to win balls in these areas. And sometimes he loses that easy challenge, and the opposition team that's counter-attacking have that time and space to be able to exploit Kim and Upamecano. Upamecano will get dragged too tight to a man, and all he wants to do is foul him. Kim just doesn't have the athleticism to keep up with that amount of space. There's been so many times throughout the season where, let's just say even Kim or Upamecano getting drawn into these players here. Let's just say this player makes this movement in here. There's a player running off the back of him, exploiting that space really easily. I think even Marmoush got his first goal against him for Frankfurt with that exact same tactic and that exact same method. Kim and Upamecano vacating the defensive areas, leaving 50 yards of space behind him. A player exploiting that, running off of him, scoring a goal. And the ability to not play Polina, would they still struggle with him in the team? Yes, but nowhere near as much. Having this player that could put out these fires of just reading the situation, let's say this 8 getting on the ball here, where Pavlovic maybe wouldn't be in the right position to come and press, or he would be maybe too weak in the press. You'd get Polina who'd just manage the situation well, not dive in too recklessly or stand off, giving him too much time to get the pass away. Manage it correctly, shield and tackle when the time is right and win the ball, and help Bayern sustain the pressure completely, because you can't leave Upamecano and Kim to defend. You just cannot do it. They're struggling, they're getting caught out, they're not enjoying the space they're in, and this is what I was saying before about how with the attacking numbers that Bayern commit, they're leaving themselves exposed defensively. Kimmich doesn't have the athleticism to cover around, so when he gets caught out of the pitch, he ain't getting back quickly enough, and the fullbacks are either not athletic enough or too high up the pitch to do anything about it, and maybe not defensively aware enough. Again, it's not just in transitional opportunities that Bayern could get exploited. It's in their pressing phase as well. They press high, they press aggressively, they press man-to-man, and they are so easily exploited by movements within that from an opposition point of view. Now, they press aggressively in those forward areas, so they can win the ball back quick. Sometimes it's not always Kimmich pressing in these areas. You get Musiala coming in with Elise moving around from right wing into the right centre-back, and Guerrero then pushing up into this area, and Kimmich can drop into the deeper areas a little bit just to cover around and help that defensive shape sit out. And again, as much as Bayern Munich can force turnovers, if they don't, then you get maybe the 11 dropping in. You know, typically players will come inside if a fullback overlap. Maybe the 9 dropping in or the 10, dragging Kim up, and then all of a sudden you're leaving Upamecano in acres of space in this area. And Aston Villa did it fantastically, isolating Upamecano and getting the ball up to Watkins, who could run off off of him into space. And Upamecano should have been sent off in that game. When you man mark as aggressively and almost as thoughtlessly at times as Bayern Munich do, you are leaving yourself exposed to the opportunity that a team might manipulate your shape and use it against you, as teams have done so far this season. Isolating players you don't want to be isolated, and then having the easy option to go long to them. Now, Neuer does counteract this by sweeping off of his line, but again, as we saw against Aston Villa, that ain't a fail-safe method, and he's too eager to do it sometimes. It wasn't an appropriate time for him to maybe come and try and press Duran and sweep up in behind when that ball went over the top, but he did it, caught in no man's land, and it was left for a shot over the top of him into the back of his own goal. And as much as Neuer, 9 out of 10 times, is fantastic with it, when he's having to come and engage this high up the pitch, almost up to the halfway line of points, because of how high Bayern commit to the press, it's suicidal at points. It really is. And he's got to fix it. They've got to be more responsible. It can't be as aggressive because you're not always going to win duels. I know that he'll maybe criticise individual performances, and he has done, the players not doing their job well enough in the press, but that will always happen. There's got to be some type of rest defence in space. It doesn't make it such a suicidal attempt at football if one player loses their duel. There's still got to be ability to recover and reshape and restructure to then go again. And Bayern just don't have that. One player loses and they all lose. It's such an individual-based pressing system. I just don't think it's set up to work. And Burnley were the same. And again, Burnley had a lesser quality of players than this Bayern team do, obviously, but we're still seeing the same silly little issues. And he needs to find that balance between defence and attack in order for him to be really successful. Having defenders play away they're clearly not comfortable doing, and that is on Kompany. That is purely on Kompany. There you go. That's my 2 cents on the matter. But let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. This may have been a controversial one. Like the video if you like it. Dislike it if you disliked it. Comment down below and tell me why either way. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.